Next up, women's strawweight matchup now, as we have Elise Ardelean coming in at minus 195 going up against Viana, who comes in at plus 170. Now, I've before used to say Elise Ardelean, but I believe I've been hearing the commentators say Ardelean, so we're going to go with Ardelean. If I'm still getting it wrong, I apologize. Blame the commentators. All right, Ardelean, similar to Shauna Bannon, obviously former opponents as well. Very surprised that Ardelean has been getting victories inside the UFC. I did not think she was UFC level. Obviously, we saw very low level work from her against Bannon. She got completely outstruck by Melissa Martinez. She was then able to pick up a big upset victory over Viana dos Santos, utilizing a lot of grit, a lot of determination, a lot of pressure, a lot of volume, and that seemed to be enough for her to get her hand raised there. Then last time around, we saw her coming at it as a minus 400 favorite against Montserrat Conejo Ruiz, and she was able to do the same thing. Ruiz couldn't corral Ardelean. She wasn't able to, get to that head and arm throw that she's been able to catch a lot of opponents with. And Ardelean was able to just go out there, completely outstrike her and absolutely stifle her in terms of volume and just success of her own. She has some mediocre grappling, mediocre striking. I believe the original reason why she got signed to the promotion was due to her online popularity, right? She does a lot of sexual comedy type of stuff. She has a lot of followers on Instagram. I'm sure she has the same on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, so I don't really give a fuck about the numbers over there. And then obviously she was on a bit of a winning streak, so I think that's why the UFC decided to bring her in. Her fight against Viana dos Santos was actually a fight of the night, so she's putting on some entertaining fights, but in terms of an actual level, I don't think she'll ever get close to that top 15 or even challenging for a title or anything like that. Again, she's 34 years old, something to take into consideration there. Now she's going up against Viana, who is on a 3-fight losing streak, and it seems like she's doing her best to really prolong her career with the promotion. She's 4-7, riding a 3-fight losing streak right now, but she isn't all that active, right? It's been over a year, I believe, since she's fought. That night she ended up getting ragdolled by Jacqueline Amarim and eventually submitted in the second round of that fight. Viana came in with a BJJ background, very aggressive off her back. I believe she was like a state jiu-jitsu champion down in Brazil or something like that. She's I think she beat Amanda Ribas on the regional scene way back in the day. But again, Viana is a reckless, aggressive fighter. 17 of her 21 fights have finished inside the distance, and that's either her getting the win or her getting finished herself. On the feet, throws a lot of reckless strikes, very aggressive, loves to crash the pocket. She's very hittable, can obviously be clipped and countered in return, but then on the ground, obviously very aggressive with the jiu-jitsu game, as long as she's not fighting somebody with a superior jiu-jitsu game who can take advantage of the holes in her game, get to dominant positions, and end up finding the finish themselves, just as we've seen Yasmin Lucindo do, Jillian Robertson, and obviously most recently Jacqueline Amarim. Viana has created a solid following for herself. Obviously, she's an attractive woman. She does the whole cosplay thing. She gets a lot of her fans through that type of content. I'm sure she's been a part of a lot of streams now and stuff too. But I think she's using the platform of being in the UFC to kind of elevate the rest of her life, which again, all credit to them. Similar to Tai Tuivasa, now obviously not for the same reasons, but to utilize your name and attached to the UFC, they're able to go out there and get sponsors, have good investments, and try to find ways to set themselves up for the post-fight career. And I believe Viana has done a pretty decent job of doing that throughout her UFC run here. But again, she is 4-7 in the promotion. She's on the cusp of getting cut. It wouldn't surprise me if she ends up getting cut, if she ends up losing this matchup, but she really needs a win to try to save much face here as a UFC fighter. Now, again, another similar situation where I'm kind of surprised that Ardelean is near minus 200. I think she wins. I was hoping that the public would actually bet against her here and we would get her as the underdog, because then I'd be a little bit intrigued there. But as a near 2-1 favorite, I have no interest there. It's absolutely possible Viana can clip her with something, could club and sub her, could just straight up submit her as well. So that danger of the volatility of Viana's game is what's scaring me off Ardelean in terms of a bet at minus 200. But in terms of a prediction, I think Ardelean will be able to take advantage of the recklessness of Viana. whether that's in the striking realm or in the grappling realm. I think Ardelean is well-rounded enough to be able to take advantage of Viana there, and I think it could lead to a finish of her own. So the spot that actually intrigues me the most, and again, 17 out of 21 fights for Viana have finished inside the distance. So when you see the under 2.5 at plus 200, it's hard to pass that up. I think Ardelean will take advantage of the holds in Viana's game, and I think that will lead to a finish inside the distance. I can't tell if it's going to be a TKO or a club and sub or anything like that. Ardelean is capable of doing both of those things here to Viana, but also in return, again, I wouldn't count out the possibility that Ardelean makes a mistake and Viana is able to capitalize there. So in terms of a money line, can't trust either side at the current numbers. I'm going to go under 2.5. I'm going to go Ardelean inside the distance. But again, hard to really muster up big confidence on either side. So I'll go Ardelean inside the distance.